AstroPrinciple invites you into a deeper understanding of Budh Aditya Yoga, the symbolic union of clarity and illumination. When intelligence meets inner radiance, a person begins to recognize their own potential with a quieter confidence. This narration explores how each zodiac archetype can reflect this blend of awareness and presence, not as prediction, but as a timeless mirror of personality and inner light. Aries carries a fire that moves first and thinks later, yet AstroPrinciple often observes how Budh Aditya Yoga softens this impulse into something more refined. When the symbolic light of the sun meets the thoughtful whisper of Mercury, Aries discovers a rare balance between instinct and insight. This energy doesn't predict outcomes, it simply highlights how your natural courage becomes sharper when paired with mindful awareness. The Aries spirit thrives when ideas are acted upon with clarity rather than haste, and Budh Aditya Yoga becomes a reminder that intelligence is not the opposite of instinct but its perfect companion. Your ruling planet Mars gives you the drive to initiate, but this yoga adds a reflective glow that helps you choose your battles with wisdom. In this timeless blend, Aries learns that true strength is not only in beginning but in understanding why a beginning matters. Taurus moves with patience, grounding, and a quiet determination that AstroPrinciple often associates with inner steadiness. When Budh Aditya Yoga enters this symbolic landscape, it brings a gentle sharpening of perception. The earthy calm of Taurus meets the thoughtful clarity of Mercury and the warm illumination of the sun, creating a blend that enhances your natural ability to observe before acting. This is not a prediction of success or fame, it is a reflection of how your steady nature becomes even more perceptive when touched by this yoga's symbolic intelligence. Venus, your ruling planet, gives you an appreciation for beauty and harmony, and Budh Aditya Yoga adds a subtle awareness of patterns, timing, and emotional nuance. In this timeless interplay, Taurus discovers that intelligence is not always loud. Sometimes it is the quiet ability to sense what truly matters and move toward it with unwavering grace. Gemini lives in the realm of ideas, and AstroPrinciple often sees how Budh Aditya Yoga feels like a natural extension of your inner world. With Mercury as your ruling planet, the symbolic union of Mercury and the sun amplifies your curiosity into something more centered and luminous. This is not a forecast of brilliance, it is a reflection of how your mind naturally seeks connection, meaning, and understanding. Budh Aditya Yoga becomes a metaphor for your ability to gather scattered thoughts and shape them into clarity. The sun adds warmth to your communication, helping your ideas feel grounded rather than restless. Gemini's gift is adaptability, and this yoga highlights how intelligence becomes wisdom when paired with presence. In this timeless blend, your thoughts shine not because they are many, but because they are guided by awareness, intention, and a deeper sense of inner coherence. Cancer carries emotional depth, intuition, and a nurturing presence that AstroPrinciple often associates with inner wisdom. When Budh Aditya Yoga enters this symbolic space, it brings a gentle illumination to your inner world. The moon, your ruling planet, governs feelings and memory, and the union of Mercury and the sun adds clarity to this emotional landscape. This is not a prediction of fame or recognition, it is a reflection of how your natural sensitivity becomes more articulate when touched by this yoga's thoughtful light. Cancer's intuition often knows the truth before the mind does, and Budh Aditya Yoga becomes a metaphor for translating that inner knowing into understanding. The sun warms your emotional insights, while Mercury helps you express them with grace. In this timeless blend, Cancer discovers that intelligence is not separate from emotion, it is the ability to feel deeply and understand gently. Leo carries a natural radiance shaped by the sun, and AstroPrinciple often observes how Budh Aditya Yoga becomes a symbolic reminder of your inner brilliance meeting thoughtful clarity. Your fire expresses itself through presence, confidence, and a desire to uplift, and when the sun's illumination blends with Mercury's reflective tone, your expression gains depth without losing warmth. This is not a promise of fame, it is a reflection of how your voice becomes more meaningful when guided by awareness. Leo's strength lies in authenticity, and Budh Aditya Yoga becomes a metaphor for speaking from the heart while thinking with intention. Your ruling sun already shines through your personality, but this yoga adds a gentle refinement that helps your ideas land with grace. In this timeless blend, Leo discovers that true leadership is not loudness but the ability to illuminate others with clarity, kindness, and a steady inner light. Virgo moves through life with precision, observation, and a quiet devotion to understanding the details that others overlook. AstroPrinciple often sees Budh Aditya Yoga as a symbolic amplification of your natural gifts, not as prediction but as reflection. With Mercury as your ruling planet, the union of Mercury and the Sun highlights your ability to bring order to complexity. This yoga becomes a metaphor for the moment when analysis meets illumination, when your thoughtful nature is warmed by clarity. Virgo's intelligence is not about perfection, it is about sincerity, care, and the desire to improve what matters. Budh Aditya Yoga adds a gentle glow to your reasoning, helping your insights feel grounded rather than critical. In this timeless blend, Virgo discovers that true intelligence is not in knowing everything but in understanding what deserves attention and offering that attention with humility and purpose. Libra seeks harmony, balance, and meaningful connection, and AstroPrinciple often observes how Budh Aditya Yoga adds a thoughtful clarity to your natural diplomacy. Venus gives you an instinct for beauty and fairness, and when the Sun's illumination meets Mercury's reflective tone, your ability to understand perspectives becomes even more nuanced. This is not a forecast of recognition, it is a reflection of how your calm presence becomes more articulate when touched by this symbolic yoga. Libra's gift lies in creating equilibrium, and Budh Aditya Yoga becomes a metaphor for the moment when your heart and mind move together with grace. The Sun warms your intentions, while Mercury helps you express them with sincerity. In this timeless blend, Libra discovers that intelligence is not only logic but the ability to sense emotional truth, communicate gently, and bring clarity to spaces where understanding is needed most. Scorpio carries depth, intensity, and a profound desire to understand what lies beneath the surface. AstroPrinciple often sees Budh Aditya Yoga as a symbolic light that gently illuminates your inner world without diminishing its mystery. Mars and Pluto shape your emotional strength, and when the Sun's radiance meets Mercury's thoughtful clarity, your insights gain articulation without losing their power. This is not a prediction of transformation, it is a reflection of how your natural intuition becomes more expressive when touched by this yoga's symbolic intelligence. Scorpio's strength lies in emotional truth, and Budh Aditya Yoga becomes a metaphor for translating silent understanding into meaningful awareness. The Sun softens your intensity, while Mercury helps you communicate with precision. In this timeless blend, Scorpio discovers that intelligence is not only analysis but the courage to see deeply, feel honestly, and understand the hidden layers of the human experience. Sagittarius carries a spirit that seeks meaning beyond boundaries, and AstroPrinciple often observes how Budh Aditya Yoga becomes a symbolic companion to your quest for understanding. Jupiter expands your vision, encouraging exploration of ideas, cultures, and philosophies, and when the Sun's illumination meets Mercury's thoughtful clarity, your insights gain a grounded brilliance. This is not a promise of wisdom or recognition, it is a reflection of how your natural curiosity becomes more focused when touched by this yoga's symbolic intelligence. Sagittarius thrives when inspiration meets intention, and Budh Aditya Yoga becomes a metaphor for aligning your enthusiasm with mindful awareness. The Sun warms your optimism, while Mercury helps you articulate your discoveries with sincerity. In this timeless blend, Sagittarius learns that intelligence is not only knowledge but the ability to see patterns, connect meanings, and share truth with openness and humility. Capricorn moves with discipline, patience, and a deep respect for structure, and AstroPrinciple often sees Budh Aditya Yoga as a symbolic refinement of your inner determination. Saturn shapes your sense of responsibility, guiding you towards steady progress, and when the Sun's illumination blends with Mercury's clarity, your practical thinking gains a subtle radiance. This is not a prediction of achievement, it is a reflection of how your grounded nature becomes more perceptive when touched by this yoga's thoughtful light. Capricorn's strength lies in persistence, and Budh Aditya Yoga becomes a metaphor for the moment when effort meets insight. The Sun highlights your long-term vision, while Mercury helps you navigate details with calm precision. In this timeless blend, Capricorn discovers that intelligence is not only strategy but the ability to move forward with patience, clarity, and a quiet confidence in the path you choose. Aquarius carries a mind shaped by originality, independence, and a desire to understand the world from a higher perspective. AstroPrinciple often observes how Budh Aditya Yoga becomes a symbolic enhancement of your visionary thinking. Saturn guides your ability to innovate, question norms, and imagine new possibilities, and when the sun's illumination meets Mercury's thoughtful clarity, your ideas gain warmth and coherence. This is not a forecast of breakthroughs, it is a reflection of how your natural intellect becomes more expressive when touched by this yoga's symbolic intelligence. Aquarius thrives when insight meets compassion, and Budh Aditya Yoga becomes a metaphor for aligning your unique perspective with grounded awareness. The sun softens your detachment, while Mercury helps you communicate with purpose. In this timeless blend, Aquarius discovers that intelligence is not only innovation but the ability to understand humanity with depth, empathy, and thoughtful vision. Pisces moves through life with intuition, imagination, and a sensitivity that AstroPrinciple often associates with spiritual intelligence. Jupiter shapes your inner world, guiding you toward empathy, creativity, and emotional depth, and when Budh Aditya Yoga enters this symbolic landscape, it brings a gentle clarity to your dreamlike perception. This is not a prediction of insight or recognition, it is a reflection of how your natural sensitivity becomes more articulate when touched by this yoga's thoughtful light. Pisces thrives when intuition meets awareness, and Budh Aditya Yoga becomes a metaphor for translating inner feeling into understanding. The sun warms your compassion, while Mercury helps you express your inner truths with softness. In this timeless blend, Pisces discovers that intelligence is not only logic but the ability to feel deeply, imagine freely, and understand the subtle currents that shape the human heart. AstroPrinciple reminds you that Budh Aditya Yoga is not a promise of outcomes but a timeless symbol of clarity meeting illumination. When intelligence and inner light move together, every zodiac archetype discovers a deeper expression of its nature. This narration invites you to reflect on your own patterns with gentleness, curiosity, and awareness, allowing the wisdom within you to shine in its own quiet and meaningful way.